morning. Get yourself a cup of coffee. My name is Tom. I come to you from Northern Maine. Welcome to my cabin this morning. This morning I'm coming to you from inside of the shop. Rainy day, very humid. I've been that way now for almost 2 weeks up here. We're in the process of building a new trapper's cabin, hunting cabin, a mile back in the woods. That's coming along very well. I plan on having you some video of that next week. I was out there 3 days last week, and between the rain and humidity and high temperatures, I just could not find it in me to do some video work. So for that I apologize, but sometimes, you know, that high humidity just knocks the stuffing out of us Mainers. So, but today it's raining. I'm doing some remodeling in here. Figured I'd bring you along, and also doing a little remodeling to the channel. I figured today might be a good time to talk about both. In the shop here, this is a part of what we're going to be changing on the channel, as well as changing the shop itself. Behind you, I've got a door pulled out that I had to raise up 10 inches in order for it to work. When I built this building, approximately 20 years ago. And it's a beautiful building. If you look around, it's fully insulated, 10-foot ceilings, built completely out of rough sawn hemlock, just like the other cabin. But I built this building for a boat. Back here, you remember I traded a piece of property back in the beginning of the summer. I traded a piece of property for a boat. Well, I built this building for that boat, and we used to store the boat in here. So what it did, right now it's got a heavy-duty floor built in it. I built it out of 2x8 floor joists, a 16-inch on center. Afterwards, when I first built the building, all it was a gravel driveway, so that there's big doors on that side, and I could back the boat in here for the winter time. And back then I didn't have a wood stove in here. I had an oil furnace. So I could come down here in the winter time, turn on all the lights, and I could work on the boat during the winter time. So it made for an enjoyable winter and nice warm place to work on the boat. What I meant by work, I had to paint it and everything. Just regular boat maintenance. But this made a great place for it. But after a while, things happened, and the boating part of my life I stopped doing. That was several years ago now. So that left me with this big building, and the same process of about the time the boat was headed out the door. Other things in my life was going on, so we had a lot of carpentry tools and stuff like that needed a home, and so we turned the old boathouse into my shop, which you can see now. And I still do a lot in here, especially with my fishing and my hunting and my trapping, all of that. Trapping of the eels and stuff like that. All that stuff is done in here as far as preparation. But I'm going to take things a step further, and that's what I mean by today, kind of remodeling the channel as well as remodeling the shop. And this, I might have to do this in a couple of videos, but we'll see where we go. Maybe we'll keep it short, maybe whatever. You never know. The channel is doing very well. I've got great support from each and every one of you. Could not ask for better supporters, let me tell you. We're going on our 4th year now with East Grand Woodsman, and I have no plans on going absolutely anywhere. Same thing with the schedule. I schedule a video on Sunday morning and Wednesday morning, and all of that is working out perfect. I've kind of got it down to, I say perfect on my end, and I think it's pretty good on your end. The numbers are climbing, the watch time is climbing, all that stuff is climbing. So, but there's things about YouTube that I can't do. So what does that mean? That means there's a big hole in my lifestyle that's kind of being left out. And it's all because of YouTube and censoring and stuff like that. You know, we're monetized now, so that's a good thing. But there's certain videos that I make, or I want to make, that YouTube will automatically kill them. Which means no monetization. It won't be advertised as a new video for you guys. They just kind of shelf it and it's there. And unless you come into my actual channel and look around at my archives, you won't find it. So those videos get no attention at all. They still require the same amount of work to build them with no return. And unfortunately, we can't be like what some parts of this country want us to be, that everything is free. Nothing is ever free. Trust me. We're going to pay a heck of a price for what's going on in this country right now. But that's not what this video is about. Kinda, but not. I have been working on a project for the better part of a year now and just haven't launched it. Getting back to YouTube. YouTube, especially censoring these videos, as there's certain things that we just cannot do. One is probably like showing you how to take a rifle apart and cleaning it and putting it back together. Stuff like that, I believe, is censored pretty hard right now. But that's a big part of my life. Same thing with some of the hunting parts of this stuff. You know, I'm pushing the edges when I show you how to clean a fish. Or if I was to skin a deer, something like that. You're really pushing the edges to what they consider family friendly. Now in my family, that's a everyday life. And that's what we do. There's no big deal there. None at all whatsoever. But on my regular YouTube channel, East Grand Woodsman, I kind of have to stay away from that stuff a little bit. And as far as the other stuff, you know, like I do a lot of fire videos and I do a lot of, all that stuff is great. But there's a whole section of my living off the grid lifestyle that I really can't touch. So what does that mean? Well, about a year ago I started working on a Patreon channel. Just looking into it and all of that, and I'm planning on launching this Patreon channel later this year. Probably, oh, I don't know, maybe, you know, I'm still working on it. I need to work on videos for it. I need to figure out how the stuff that's going to be there is the stuff that I can't show on my East Grand Woodsman channel. That's what the Patreon channel is going to be all about. There's going to be a mixture, you know, some of what's here, we're going to bounce stuff back and forth. But Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is just another extension of YouTube. All my videos still get loaded up through YouTube, and then I take them from YouTube and put them over on this Patreon, which is part of YouTube. So you're still logging in to YouTube and all of that. It's still the same everything, with the exception of the Patreon channel is not censored. I can put anything I want on the Patreon channel. So when I launch this thing, I'm just kind of giving you a heads up now. When I launch the Patreon channel, I will put a link in the description of all of my videos. I'll put a link to it in my About East Grand Woodsman page, where you see my email, as well as then you'll see the link to the Patreon channel. And that's what I'm working towards right now, coming up into the fall. There's like I said, there's areas I don't want to keep leaving out, because number one is it's a big part of what we do. And what's going to be there? Well, stuff that I haven't talked about. What I mean there is I've always been around trapping, hunting, and fishing. But not to the extent that I decided this year to take it. If you look around at the country, it looks like we're getting ready to have a pretty bad time of it in the near future, if not long term. Who knows? I think the only way that things are going to get fixed around here is unless God does something. If God comes in and takes care of the mess, then everything I'm talking about and dealing with would be for naught. But I also believe God wants us to look ahead to the future and plan for the future. And that's what I've always done. I've always planned for the future. I've always looking at what next year holds or what 5 years from now is going to hold in my life and in my family's life. And that's how we ended up with the new property. I had the family in mind with that as a food source, a place to go, a place to learn skills and techniques and all of that. And that's why we're building the little cabin, so that I can bring my grandsons there and they can learn the skills from me on a regular basis. It's closer to home, so it's not as big of a travel as it is up to the rustic log cabin. So I'll be able to work with them more, and I think that's really important. You know, we've got one that's a year and a half old, one that's 6, he'll be 7 this fall, and then we've got a 10-year-old that'll be 11 in the spring. So as far as me looking ahead to the future, they're it. And I want to give them as much as I possibly can as far as tools and skills and common sense. Well, one of the other, and I don't believe you're ever too old to learn a new skill. Never. So if you're sitting there on the couch or in a chair and you think, boy, I'm too old to learn a new skill, that's just not the case, at least in my world. So what I did this summer, along with building that building, it started over 2 months ago, is I enrolled myself into a trapping school. A trapping school. Even though I know a lot about animals, and I know a lot about trapping because I've been around this stuff forever, but you're never too old to learn a new trick. I don't believe in that saying, dog's too old to learn a new trick. You're never too old to learn a new trick or never too old to learn a new skill. And there's certain animals in the state of Maine that you can trap and eat that we cannot shoot and eat. One of them is the beaver. It's illegal to shoot a beaver. Well, beaver meat is one of those outdoor meats that is high on the hog as far as flavor. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to take this on. And the biggest reason I want to take it on is for coyote control. Around my cabin, I did a video last spring, and in that video, it was a game camera that was out for approximately 6 months. I got 582 videos on that game camera. More than half of the videos were coyotes running the same trail as the deer. So I had close to 300 videos of coyotes within 50 feet of my cabin all winter. So I decided this summer that I would, I don't know where I found the time, but I did. It took about 2 months. A lot of it's gone on Saturdays. I've been in every trapping class and course that I could possibly make room for, and I've still got a couple more to go to this fall. But I decided that after seeing all those coyotes, that it was really time to get serious about trying to thin the population of coyotes around my cabin. Because they estimate a coyote in its lifetime will eat something like 7 or 8 deer per coyote. Now, I don't know what the life expectancy is of a coyote, but I know around my cabin 7, 8 to 10 deer carcasses every spring you can find. And probably more than that, because down on the lake, I know of 7 or 8 carcasses that was found down there. So that's 14 deer within 10 minutes of my cabin that we can account for, along with the albino deer that I had in the last video. And I guess they have died something. I've got all kinds of comments. Pale, brown tail, whatever. I guess it's not really considered a pure albino. But at any rate, it's still an animal that I have never seen in the woods. So I will get that right phrase for you and put it into a video. So my objective here is to go after the coyotes with the trapping skills that I have been taught this year. And it falls along with everything that's in my channel as far as learning. You're never too old to learn a new trick. And I felt that I was never too old to learn a new trick. And so I have added trapping to my lifestyle. And the trapping aspect of this, I want to put on the Patreon channel. And the reason for that is this channel I like this channel to be more Disney-like, I guess is a good word for it. It's kind of a family joke because of my mother. Whenever I try to, if I wouldn't show it to my mother, then it doesn't come up on this channel, East Grand Woodsman. The Patreon channel is still East Grand Woodsman, but it's just a different branch of it. So I hope all that makes some sense, and I hope that some of you, if not all of you, will follow me over to the Patreon channel. I will be doing the same thing I'm doing here. The only difference with the Patreon channel is it'll probably only receive one video per week. East Grand Woodsman will still receive its Sunday video and its Wednesday video. And and there's a bunch of other perks that come along with the Patreon channel as well. Once you get in there, you'll see what I mean by perks. It's a lot different than this side of YouTube. It's just a different side of YouTube. So by learning how to trap, it's another food source that I can put on my family's table. There's a lot of meat out there that is very good to eat. I'm going to trap, and I'm going to use every piece of these animals. There's been some things that I've wanted over the years, but are very, very expensive. And with this, I will be able to do them. One of the things is I would love a beaver skin hat, especially for the winter, especially for my bald head. Very warm, very simple to make myself once I have a beaver pelt. And on top of that, the beaver is a super animal to eat. So that's another one. And the other one is a muskrat. Now, we don't want to eat. Muskrat is 3 to 5 pounds and also very good to eat. So these are high meat sources that you cannot shoot, but I can add to my menu if this continues the road that we're on, as far as full government control of everything and every aspect of our lives. So in my life, this is a huge step to being more self-sufficient. What this channel has always been about is being self-sufficient. And the list goes on and on and on as to what I can eat out in the bush and what I can use the different animal parts for. So, and that's the stuff that I'm going to have over on the Patreon channel. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you really want to follow the old woodsman other side of what I do, the Patreon channel is going to be where it's at. And I also, with Patreon, they have a lot more, that's why I was talking about perks here a minute ago. With the Patreon channel, there's lots more ways to be more one-on-one with the viewer. So that's the other thing that I like about it. As well as you can become part of East Grand Woodsman more so than we can on YouTube. But that's it. I want to feed the family, and trapping and hunting and fishing is one of the ways that I am going to feed this family no matter what happens with the food system in this country in the near future. One of the other things I would really appreciate is let me know in the comments the different things that you would like to see on the Patreon channel. I'm sure there's aspects of this life that you have not seen, that you've questioned. Let me know topics that you have in mind that kind of fall out of what is the norm for YouTube. And then I will see if it's something that I can accomplish. And I want you to have a big part in how we proceed with this Patreon channel. And the only way I'm going to get there is through comments, what your ideas are. Let me know if you like this idea. Even that will play into my decision making here over the next 3 months. Like I said, my plan is to probably launch the Patreon channel later this fall, and we'll take it from there. So I thank you for coming along, if you followed this right to the end, and I will see you next week, and you have a great week.